Welcome back to another episode of BT Dubs, or for the acronymically challenged, Book Talk Weekly, the literary series where I talk about what I'm reading and try to let you know if it's something you'd like to read. In this episode, we'll be talking about the book The Intuitionist by Colson Whitehead. I like to think of this book as a literary treatment of the age-old left brain versus right brain argument, but more on that in a minute. I must have picked up my copy of this book at Goodwill. Look at this. Whoever had it last just took notes on the first 20 pages and then fizzled out. Why does that happen so often? Do people just give up on taking notes? I don't write in my books, so I wouldn't know. Do you write notes in your books? Let me know in the comments. My worst book habit is that I'm an unapologetic dog-earer. I try to use bookmarks all the time, but I never end up sticking with them. I think the longest bookmark I ever had was a piece of paper I ripped out of a notebook. Anyways, let's get back to the book. If you've never heard of Colson Whitehead, first of all, how's the view from that rock you're living under? Second, grab your pants and jacket. The hype train is about to leave the station. To be fair, it probably left the station a few years ago for Colson Whitehead. He's written 9 books at the time of this video, but is most recognized for the 2 works that won him the Pulitzers for 2017 and 2020. The Underground Railroad is about 2 slaves trying to escape the South using a literal, physical Underground Railroad. It's an imaginative novel fleshing out a misconception that a lot of us had as kids learning about history. I don't have a copy of this book because I lent my copy to a friend who still hasn't returned it. But I do have this dust jacket. We'll just go ahead and put this on my copy of Harry Potter. And no one will be able to tell the difference. Look at that, beautiful. Harry Potter and the Underground Railroad coming to a bookstore near you. The Nickel Boys, which I admit is still on my to-read list, is about a reform school in Florida called the Dozier School. It was open for more than 100 years and only closed in 2011, and since then it's had some hideous secrets unburied. The theme of race and black experience in America is central to both of those books, and The Intuitionist is no exception. This book is Colson's debut novel that he wrote when he was 29. All of the pieces that made that book work are here too, just in lesser degree. It's a great little book. It's around 250 pages, so you can probably get through it in a couple of days. The thing about short books is I find that they're easier to recommend. Everybody's short on time, so if you find a book that's great and also short, the time invested to reward ratio is usually pretty high. And if you end up not liking the book, it's not like you invested a ton of time into a doorstopper that failed you. In this book, we're forced to intuit both the setting and the time period of the novel. I'm gonna go with New York City in the 1950s or 1960s based on what I picked up from the book. To be honest, the setting and time period doesn't really make that much of a difference. The heroine of the novel is Lila Mae Watson, an elevator inspector. Lila has 2 strikes against her. She's black and she's an intuitionist. The extremely unlikely and unfortunate event of an elevator failure has happened in one of the buildings that she's responsible for. This novel is a detective story that follows Lila Mae as she tries to determine what happened that caused the accident. While a few of the characters in this novel felt a little flat, you're still getting Whitehead's entertaining take on some character tropes you've definitely read before. You have the young, tenacious protagonist, the Uncle Tom inspector that preceded her in the department, a reclusive genius whose secret is slowly revealed. But oh wait, that wasn't even the big secret. There's an even bigger one. You've also got 2-bit thugs and journalists that are too curious for their own good. There are 2 interwoven conflicts throughout the plot of this story. You have the black-white racial tension, and then the 2 schools of thoughts concerning elevator inspection, the intuitionists and the empiricists. These 2 issues are not tied together. There's black and white intuitionists and empiricists. As soon as I read about these 2 schools, my mind immediately went to the age-old left brain versus right brain debate. Quick note, I'm not here to talk about the scientific validity of the left brain versus right brain debate. I'm only using it as a figure of speech because it's something that a lot of people already know about. Alright, so let's do a quick refresher on the left brain, right brain concept. So the basic idea was this. The right side of your brain controls the left side of your body and is responsible for traits like imagination, creativity, intuition, artistry, and emotion. So if you're right brain dominant, it can be assumed you would excel more in skills of this type. On the other hand, we have the left side, which is responsible for the right side of your body and things like facts, logic, mathematics, analytics, and language. If you'd like to disappear down a rabbit hole for a few hours, just type in left brain, right brain on Google and do some research of your own. So let's start off with the Intuitionists. They're obviously the right brainer type. Adjectives of imaginative, creative, intuitive, artistic, and emotional align pretty closely with how they conduct their elevator inspections, through the use of feeling, instinct, and meditation. I intuit that Whitehead probably felt pretty comfortable having a creative type as his protagonist. And then their foes, the empiricists, who align closely with the left brain. They're by-the-book types who measure everything and live by the idea that every elevator should align with their code. Their main goal? To destroy the Intuitionists with facts and logic. So is the moral of the story that intuition will prevail over cold, hard logic? I don't think so. The reason I say this has a lot to do with the final reveal of the novel, but I'll let you read it to find out and let me know what you think. So, onto the other big theme of this book, race. Whitehead demonstrates 3 different responses that his black characters have to the tension that they have with his white characters. One sacrifices their dignity and takes the bribes given to them by the white men. Another hides their identity as a person of color entirely, so that they can avoid the conflict that it would bring. A third character stands up for themselves in spite of what that means for their career and their life. So you're getting a complex narrative with these 3 distinct responses and the effects that they have on the lives of the characters. So now's the part of the video where I get into whether or not you should read this book. How can you intuit if you might be into it? So reason 1, you're the creative type. You'd definitely be an intuitionist if you were an elevator inspector. Life means more to you than the laws that govern it. Second, you don't need to know every single little detail of a story in order to enjoy it. In fact, sometimes you feel like the pieces that are omitted from a story can be just as meaningful as the pieces that are included. Third, you've already read The Underground Railroad and you thought it was a fantastic book. This book isn't any less Colson Whitehead, it's just him a little bit before he hits his stride. So let's talk about reasons why you might not like this book. First, you're an empiricist. Emotions mean nothing to you. Every action in your life is perfectly calculated and in complete alignment with your life goals. You don't read fiction. No time for that. You never need entertainment. Entertainment is for the weak. The only search engine you've ever used is Google Scholar. You make no distinctions. You destroy everyone with facts and logic, liberals and conservatives alike. The second reason you might not like this book is if you need every detail spelled out for you. Not knowing the exact location and time period of a story would drive you so crazy you couldn't even continue. The whole time you would just be thinking to yourself, why didn't he include the setting? Is writing the words New York City that hard? There are magazine articles all over the book. Couldn't you include the date on one of them? Third, you hate vertical conveyance in all but its most ancient form, the stairs. You think elevators are for the weak. You could have had a first floor apartment, but instead you chose a 5th floor walk-up because moving day is the best day of the year for you, and dragging a couch up 5 flights of stairs is your idea of a good time. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Book Talk Weekly. Don't forget to tune in next week when we'll be talking about this guy, Mao 2 by Don DeLillo. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and get notified of new content as I create it. Until next week.